Well, at this point, Arda Bakari, given that Canada is the largest importer of steel and aluminum into the U.S., this is going to hit Canada and the steel industry in particular quite hard here in this country. So we know now that executive order was signed by Donald Trump, increasing those import tariffs from 25% to 50% for all countries except the U.K. because they don't have a final trade deal in place yet. So this is big news that we just heard last week, Donald Trump threatening to do this, and it went into effect today. We know Prime Minister Mark Carney has said those tariffs are what he called unjustified and unlawful. The Canadian government obviously does already have counter tariffs in place for the original 25% tariffs. But of course, now more needs to be done. And Mark Carney said today that his government is in negotiations to have the tariffs removed. But there is, of course, understandably, a lot of pressure for the government to not only move on this, but move quickly on this. And Premier Doug Ford was also speaking about that today because, of course, a lot of that steel production and aluminum production happens in Ontario. Here's more on what the Premier had to say.
We need to react immediately. We just can't sit back because every single day that goes by, it gives uncertainty to the sectors. It adds additional cost on the steel. So we need to react immediately. We need to put that other 25% on as soon as possible. And, you know, deal or no deal, if it's coming soon, well, President Trump wouldn't do what he's doing, and again, throwing an additional 25%. But it hurts both countries, and I can assure you, it's going to hurt the U.S. as well.
And so that's the message, really, that keeps coming back as well from a lot of Canadian politicians that we've heard over the last few months, is that this is going to hurt the U.S. And people in America as well as Canadians. And so at this point, Mark Carney, the Prime Minister, has said that Canada will, quote, take some time but not much to respond to these tariffs. So I'm not sure, Arda Bakari, whether that means we could hear something by the end of the week or whether it might be longer than that. But of course, now all eyes on the Canadian government to think of something to come up and counter these tariffs. Back to you.
Okay, reporting live from the newsroom, CP24's Lindsay Biscaia. Lindsay.